Well, the mandatory portion of the offseason has begun for the New York Jets. Everybody's in attendance. Everybody seems ready to compete, and this coaching staff is ready to coach. And as we look forward to the regular season, which starts in a mere 3 months, oh my gosh, it's so far away. I want to take the time and sort of assess where the Jets are, talk about reasons why they could make the playoffs versus reasons they would not make the playoffs. And we're going to get into all of that tonight. Plus, we got 3 and Out. We got some Jets trivia to do a little bit later. And there's a whole lot on my mind in the world of New York sports. So, guys, you know what the deal is. It's Wednesday night. It's 6 p.m. Eastern, and we are live. And well. Welcome everybody to New York Sports WickerMedia. I am your party host, Watu-K99, here as always for this weekly night Wednesday extravaganza. I'm glad that you are here as well. And it is, the time of optimism as a New York Jets fan. It's the month of June. Very few bad things seem to happen to the New York Jets in the month of June. So we're going to get into all of that. I want to say a quick shout out to the OG channel member Jets mess. And I think he's saying playoffs, but I think he's saying it in a little bit of a different way. Jets mess. I think what you're saying is you're saying it in this context.
Playoffs? Don't talk about playoffs. You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game.
Yes, with 5 wins, he's leaning against it. Yeah, well, could it go that way? It absolutely could, but there are reasons to believe that things could be a lot better. Of course, they could be a lot worse. Remember, people say it couldn't be any worse. Believe me, it can always get worse. And as New York Jets fans, we know just how low the bar can fall. Well, we're going to get into all of that in just a couple of minutes. But first of all, let's talk about what's on my mind in a little segment that we like to call, well, how do I want to do it this one? There we go. Let's put up, there we go. Why is my 3 and Out now working? Yeah, there we go. There's the 3 and Out. All right. A couple of things. First of all, and there's a number of things I got to get into, but in baseball, first of all, New York Mets looking great. Walk-off win Tuesday night against Washington at home. They got 2 more games against the Nationals, then 3 at home against Tampa. After that, 10 straight games against the Braves and the Phillies. You know, the Mets have not played Atlanta yet this year, and the Braves, despite their bad record, it's been a ton of one-run losses. They just seem to find a way to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. They have been doing it nonstop. Now, they've looked a little bit better in this series against Milwaukee. But over and over, you could say this in sports. It's not who you play, it's when you play them. And it's hard to imagine that the Braves are going to be any worse than what they've been over the first 9 to 10 weeks of the regular season. So the Mets have a chance to bury the Braves, but if you're a baseball fan, you know just how hard that is to do. But Soto and Alonso come through on Tuesday night. It was great to see. The Mets have an amazing 1-2 punch in the bullpen between Reed Garrett and Edwin Diaz. Even Justin Vargas, a relief pitcher who they got from the Giants for cash, comes out of nowhere. He's throwing 98 miles an hour in the bullpen and looking really good. I'll tell you what, say whatever you want about David Stearns, the front office. This guy knows how to find pitching. And when you can find, as fragile as pitching is, when you can find these reclamation projects, when you can identify that talent, and then you've got the staff to develop them, you've got something that's pretty good, and that's something that can get you excited. With the Yankees, hey, the Red Sox remain a pain in the neck, taking 2 out of 3 from them. But then the Yankees go on to Kansas City and absolutely demolish them on Tuesday night, winning 10-2 Aaron Judge hit a home run that I think is about to land in about a half hour. The way he hit that. And Max Fried, I am so glad the Yankees have him just because he's out of Atlanta. If it wasn't for Tariq Skubal, Max Fried would be well on his way to the Cy Young. And speaking of the Cy Young, somebody else would be getting a lot of Cy Young attention is Chris Bubik, and that is the pitcher the Yankees will face tonight in Kansas City. His ERA is under 2, which means he would fit very well on the Mets staff. But Yankees looking good in the AL East, 4 games up on Toronto. It's not a matter of if they'll win the division, it's by how many games. Okay, so let's talk a little bit of hockey. I haven't talked too much hockey lately, but as a New York Rangers fan, Chris Kreider, the news has been circulating over the last 24 hours. He is going to get traded, and it's going to be to the Anaheim Ducks, who have a lot of prospects to give and a lot of cap space to work with. Now, the problem is Anaheim is on Kreider's 15-team no movement list, so he has to approve the trade. But Kreider is 34 years old, spent 13 years with the Rangers, his entire career, 326 goals, 256 assists. Just 3 years ago, had a career high 52 goals, but this year not so good. 22 goals, 8 assists, dealing with injuries all season. So the issue is Kreider is under contract for 2 more years, $6.5 million per year. And the story is the Ducks would take on the entire deal. And in return, the Rangers would get a draft pick, likely a pick in the back of the second round, and a prospect. The whole point of this to me is to open up cap space with free agency starting in a couple of weeks. Also, it gives them the money that they're going to need to extend Will Cooley, who is the younger version of Chris Kreider and is a restricted free agent. The Rangers cannot let Will Cooley get away. So if this is it for Chris Kreider, major salute to him for coming up with so many big goals in the playoffs. But, when you have to open up cap space, you have to do some things that you're not exactly happy to do. And that's what's it. And as far as the Knicks go with this coaching search, some people need to calm the F down, okay? I didn't see what the big fuss was over Jason Kidd, and now it looks like he's likely not coming here since the Mavericks have denied the Knicks permission to interview him. Minnesota denied Chris Finch. Houston denied Emu Doka. And the whole thing with that is there are a lot of people, even Knicks fans, people like have been around decades like I have who should know better. And they're basically saying the Knicks fired Tom Thibodeau without any plan in mind. Well, excuse me, he was fired a week and a half ago. Are the Knicks supposed to have their next coach 1 week later? I thought you were supposed to interview candidates, get to know them, do a thorough process. And so far, we haven't heard anything about coaches the Knicks are planning to interview. Not available ones. The only thing we've heard about is the Knicks have been feeling out other teams to see if they are willing to let their coaches interview. And now they've rejected by 4. They just got rejected by Atlanta because they wanted to interview Quinn Snyder, who I really didn't have any interest in anyway. So the Knicks, they're going to cast a wide net. Okay, I don't expect them to go more than 2 more weeks without having a coach in place. But I just have a problem with people saying that they fired Tom Thibodeau and now they have no idea what they're doing. They're just seeing who is out there that they could possibly get. It doesn't mean that these coaches who are under contract are their top priorities. They just want to see who's available. So I think the Knick haters out there need to calm down. All right. So that's what's going on over there. Let's say hello to Tony Alexio. It's showtime. Yes, sir, it is. Hope you're doing well. And then we get the great Harlan Abraham, Father Abraham and his many sons. Many sons for Father Abraham. I am one, and so are you. So let's just praise the Lord. All right. Hope you're having a good week. Yes. All right. Yes. One of the basically one of our founding fathers here, indeed, Father Abraham. Good to see you, Harlan. All right, so guys, we're going to get into some New York Jets talk right now. I got the slides ready to go, and I got a few thoughts on my mind as well. So everybody, let's get into that Jets content. So say it with me, say it proud, say it loud. Let me hear it. There we go. Jets, Jets. Now, I got to be honest with you. A few random Jet things. This is actually, before I even get into that, I'm going to take this down. Let's just talk for a minute. I haven't been on the air since the news about Aaron Rodgers came down. That came down last Thursday. He was signing with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I really want to take the revenge factor out of this. No matter how much the media wants to stir it up, they want Rodgers to say disparaging things about the Jets. I'm glad he's not taking bait. All right. He sort of already did that on the McAfee show about Aaron Glenn. So I'm glad he isn't doing that just yet. He wants to take a shot at Woody, no problem. Or Nathaniel Hackett, no problem. But just to break down the matchup a little bit, and it's months away, but I'm just going to give you a couple of thoughts that I have now that we know it'll be Justin Fields against Aaron Rodgers. There is no quarterback that's going to be harder to fool in the NFL than Aaron Rodgers, okay? He knows our defensive players. He's been around forever. He's incredibly smart, but it's not the same Aaron Rodgers. It's not. One thing that Rodgers has always done very well in his career is dominate the blitz. He's great in the face of pressure. Last year, his passer rating against the blitz was under 90. That hadn't happened in almost a decade. Now, think about this. He's got less than 3 months to develop chemistry, connection, whatever word you want to use with not just his receivers, but his blockers as well. And I said it last week when we talked about the pivotal games on the Jets schedule. This Pittsburgh offensive line is very young. It is very inexperienced. At least four of the five players there, yeah, they're draft picks, but they're question marks. Broderick Jones, Mason McCormick, Zach Frazier, though he does look pretty good, and Troy Fontenot, who barely played last year. Okay, a lot of questions on that Steelers offensive line. Oh, and a new offensive coordinator that he's got to work with. Rodgers loves timing routes. Are those going to be good to go for week 1? But a couple of things strategy-wise as far as the Jets go. Okay, as I pull a lot of the comments up. I want this team to be aggressive. Okay, there's times to be conservative and there's times to be aggressive. I want these quarterbacks to play up on Metcalf, on DJ Metcalf. Make him uncomfortable, disrupt Rodgers' timing. Okay? I want them tight on Calvin Austin, definitely on Pat Freiermuth. Disrupt these guys. Go after them when you can. Do it legally. Okay? Do it in those first 5 yards and then use your coverage ability to take care of the rest. Remember, to me, the Jets are going to have a better covering secondary than they had last year. You have upgraded at safety when it comes to coverage ability by bringing in Andre Sisco, by bringing in Malachi Moore. Right there, you have major upgrades. So, I want to see an aggressive game plan by the defense. Now, when they're on offense, Pittsburgh's very tough to run against. They play a safety in the box very often. But what I really want them to do, too, is give Armand Membou some help, okay? He didn't look good today against Will McDonald. I'm not worried about that. There's always growing pains for a rookie, especially an offensive lineman. But most often, T.J. Watt lines up against the right tackle of the opposing offense. Now, Watt is currently sitting out of minicamp. He wants a new deal. Personally, I think it's in his best interest to make sure his mind is right. I think he should take maybe a full 3 months to make sure, TJ Watt, that he is okay, that he is good to play. I really think it's in the best interest of him, for his family, for the fans of Pittsburgh, that he just misses that 1 week. And maybe that'll push the general manager, push ownership, I think that would be in the best interest of the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's playing. And Alex Highsmith, no slouch either when it comes to rushing the passer. Now, we know Justin Fields can move very well, but if he has one weakness, he's prone to holding on to the ball because he's hoping to make a play. And how many quarterbacks have we seen here recently with the Jets who are prone to doing that? Okay, so all of that is going to factor in. See the chat's pumping. Oh, nice little kick in the chat. Always good to see that. Welcome everybody who's popping in. Feel free to join the chat. If you have any thoughts, you have any questions, you are more than welcome to participate. It's a welcome space. It's an open space. All right. See you guys greeting each other. Fantastic. Love it. All right. So let's pull the slides up here. A few random Jet things. A couple things to talk about at minicamp. By the way, I have to admit, I was reading one of the Dolphins beat writers, and this was the tweet that he put out. I don't have the guy's name, but he's one of the Dolphins beat writers. Zach Wilson, continuing an uneven offseason, had 2 passes picked, including 1 return for a touchdown, nearly threw a 3rd interception and a 2nd pick 6. He is in mid-season form, folks. That's right, Harm. Please hit the thumbs up. Get the word out. If you like to spin the wheel a little bit later tonight, you know the deal. 15 likes. Last week I felt generous. We did the wheel at 10 likes, but we got to get some thumbs ups to make that happen. And happy trails to Wes Schweitzer, who was with the Jets for the last couple of years as a backup interior offensive lineman. The New England Patriots had signed him, and now they have placed him on the reserve retired list. So even though he is declaring his retirement from the NFL, he remains under contract through the year with New England if he does choose to come back, if he pulls a Brett Favre. Okay, so that's basically what's going on there. So Wes Schweitzer, we already gave him the he gone, so happy trails, Wes Schweitzer. But a lot of the talk, I feel like, out of minicamp has been very encouraging. The fact that Sauce and Garrett are both there when they could be holding out, now that they are extension eligible, is a very encouraging sign. Most everybody is practicing. The only exception is really Jermaine Johnson, which is understandable considering he's coming back from the Achilles, and he's about 10 months into that. And actually, I want to spend a minute here on JJ. So Aaron Glenn was asked about that, I believe, by Brian Costello in Tuesday's presser. And they don't know if he's going to be ready for camp. He may start it on the physically unable to perform list, but he is fully expected to be ready week 1 against Pittsburgh. And that is okay with me. Now, personally, I would like to see JJ in a preseason game, get some game reps in, although the joint practices against the Giants that will be coming up, that would work just fine as well. I know he's not going to be playing in the Green Bay game when I'm over there, but the point is, I expect JJ early on to be on a bit of a pitch count. I don't think that he's going to play the entire game, certainly not early on. If he could at least play half the game against Pittsburgh and build that up, then I think I would take that. But that would be 11 months or so from the time that he got hurt in week 2 last season, a little over 11 months. And Jermaine Johnson, you know what? He is not a luxury player. He is a necessity for this defense. You know, when Reddick held out as long as he did and basically was, showing himself modeling Japanese kimonos on Instagram, when JJ went down as well, people said that Joe Douglas decimated the defensive line. Well, when you factor in those two things, it got even more decimated than we ever knew. That was the whole problem. Losing JJ took out so much from this defense. I don't think too many people outside of Jets fans really understood that. So JJ is, if there's one player to be watching the preseason with his reps, his explosiveness, it's going to be Jermaine Johnson. And if I had to give you a guess, I don't think he plays in the preseason, but count on him having a pretty active role against the Giants, not in the preseason game, but in the joint practices, which I believe is going to be between week 1 and 2. So about the middle of August 13, 14, right in that time frame. Also, Arian Smith has not been participating in offense versus defense. He has been involved in the punt returning, though. So whatever the injury is, it can't be bothering him too much. And Malachi Corley still has an undisclosed injury. We don't know what the deal is, but we know he, as much as anybody, has something to prove this season. So it's not the most optimistic outlook for Corley, but we will see. Apparently he was working on a side field. So hopefully Corley will be back very, very soon. And a few things with a few other notes that I've seen. As far as Justin Fields goes, from what I've seen, the reports are he's getting the ball out quicker, which I do like to see. Even his first drive in the preseason, feeding Garrett Wilson, or in minicamp, completed 3 of his first 4 passes to Garrett Wilson. Okay, a little bit inconsistent at times. He is still learning when to throw the football away. All right, Tony, trading John Franklin Myers was a fireable offense. John Franklin Myers is a good player. He is not Deacon Jones. He is not Reggie White, okay? Please, that is not a fireable offense. That is not fireable. What's more fireable is hiring Robert Saleh. Okay, that is more. Come on, John Franklin Myers is a good player, but to me, it speaks a lot about the coaching that they struggle to overcome that the way that they did. So, you know, if I had it my way, JD would still be here, but he didn't want to be here anymore anyway. So I think it was a mercy killing for both parties. So, but John Franklin Myers being fireable, I'm sorry, it was a bad move, no doubt about it. But it's John Franklin Myers. Let's keep it. We got to keep it in perspective to me. But Aaron Glenn made sure in the press conference to talk about Justin Fields knowing when to throw the ball away, and that was what he was happiest with, in these two sessions. So, knowing when to throw the ball, we've seen like with Sam, with Zach, that was something they struggled to really grasp, which is frustrating because to me, not that playing quarterback is ever easy, but you have to know when you have no options. Throwing the ball away and having an incomplete pass, that's a lot better than taking a sack or throwing, a long bomb down the middle of the field and you risk a turnover. Okay, I could deal with an incomplete pass. I can't deal with turning the ball over consistently. And one thing with Fields' stats, his sack percentage, his interception percentage have dropped the last couple of years. And that is something that does give me some hope that he is getting smarter as a quarterback. But a couple of other players from the wide receiver room, there have been a few sleepers. Brandon Smith, who was a preseason star last season. Jamal Pritchard, the undrafted free agent this year. They've been making some big plays. Mason Taylor, a tight end, made a big catch on a crossing route. Supposedly looked pretty good, but Marcelino McCurry ball stripped it and forced a fumble. So, Mason, got to work on that ball security, my man. Couple people on defense. Byron Coward. I got to say, Byron Coward, he keeps getting a lot of credit. Him and Rashad Weaver, those two defensive linemen are being praised about as much as anybody on that defense. That is interesting to me because Coward is an absolute journeyman. I believe the Jets are his seventh team, and supposedly he brings a lot of athleticism, brings some leadership in there. So you know what? If he turns into Sheldon Rankins Part 2, I'm good with that. But Quinnen's had a sack. Will McDonald has supposedly he's made Armand Membu look pretty silly so far. And again, I'm not freaking out about that. Will McDonald has done that to a lot of offensive tackles, and Membu can only learn from this. Better to be struggling with this in June than in September. Quantez Stiggers, AZ Thomas have shown some glimpses of covering very well. Thomas, in fact, had an interception today against Tyrod Taylor. And when was the last time a Jet cornerback had an interception that wasn't named Brandon Eccles? I think you have to go back to I think Herman Edwards was the coach the last time that happened. But all right, but in all seriousness, let's get into some of the main content tonight. The top reasons the Jets can make the playoffs, and believe it or not, I've got 5 of them for you. All right, and I've got some numbers, I've got some quotes and different things to back up what I'm saying. So, number 1, coaching staff focus. This coaching staff, you hear it again and again. They're emphasizing fundamentals and they're emphasizing accountability. Aaron Glenn is building this from the ground up, even though the talent they have does not dictate they need to build it from the ground up. But he needs to build the mentality. He needs to build the motto, the mantra, the karma, the mojo, whatever word you'd like to use. He needs to build that from scratch, and he needs to establish that in his first year. He needs to establish more than a record. The culture needs to be established at One Jets Drive. They want to play a physical, aggressive defense. We are seeing that. Now, under Robert Saleh, what did we see? To me, it was the same thing for 3-4 years. You knew what was coming. They would rush 4, and the whole idea was to get pressure with the front 4, and then the back 7 would all be there to cover. Well, here's the thing. They never blitzed, okay? They get pass rushes a fair amount of the time. But you know what? When they did that, they would get strafed by screen passes. I mean, how many times did we see a quarterback throw the ball like a little pass over the defensive line to a running back, and as soon as they caught the ball, you knew that player was going out 25, 30 yards down the field. The linebackers sure weren't going to make the plays. Okay? For years, screen passes killed this team. So I want to see that change. And also, the Jets, even though they had all that coverage, they were horrible at turning the other team over. That I'm going to go back 4 years, the last 4 seasons, okay? 2021, I'm going to give you the number of takeaways the Jets had and where they ranked in the NFL. 2021, 14 takeaways. That was 31st in the NFL. Only Jacksonville had fewer. 2022, 16 takeaways. That's not even 1 per game. Only 3 teams had fewer turnovers. 2023, they did better. 27, and they ranked in the top 10 in the NFL. That was good. Then this past year, back to 17 takeaways. Only 6 teams had fewer. So 3 out of those 4 years, this was not an opportunistic defense. They were bend, don't break. They get some pressure, they cover, but they wouldn't make big plays to give the offense every chance they had. They didn't give them short fields. They didn't do that, especially in years when we were watching Flacco, when we were watching Zach, when we were watching, I'm sorry, Tony, but Chris Streveler, Mike White, guys like this. Okay, one of the best things you could do for your offense is give them a short field to work with. And it felt like just about every game, the Jets were constantly starting at the 20-yard line, inside the 20-yard line. They had to go 80 yards down the field. And when your defense can force turnovers, it makes life a whole lot easier for the whole team. And do I even need to get started on the number of times the defense fell apart late in games? I'll always go back to that New England game last year. 2 last-minute drives by Jacoby Brissett, under 3 minutes, they get in the end zone to beat the Jets. That was a fireable offense for every defensive coach on that staff, in my opinion. And overall, the improvement. Some players improved under the Saleh regime. Quincy, Jamian, but too many didn't, in my opinion. Jeremy Ruckert, Tony Adams, Zach Wilson, a lot of guys, Ty Conklin, a lot of guys to me remain sedentary or even regressed. And I think with this coaching staff, you are now going to see good fundamental football. Don't beat yourself. If you lose on talent, that's one thing, but don't lose because you make a stupid play or because we didn't communicate well enough or because we shot ourselves in the foot, proverbial to use an analogy. So the focus of the coaching staff, I think, is going to go a long way. Number 2, people forget that there is still young talent on this team. And I wanted to use this particular picture of Garrett Wilson going against Sauce Gardner, even though it's a bit of an old school photo. Yeah, Garrett's got, it's funny. It's actually kind of funny. Garrett's got the 5 on and Sauce has the old school jersey on, with the Tetris number 1 on it, right? But here's the thing. Last year, the Jets were, the fourth oldest team in the NFL? When you factor in Rodgers, when you factor in Zerline, and you factor in other players like the Thomas Morstead, bless him. Now, they're the second youngest team in the NFL, second only to the Green Bay Packers. This is a hungry team. And everybody in camp knows they've got a chance to earn a roster spot and some notable playing time. Maybe not a starting spot. Tyrod Taylor's coming in knowing he's not starting unless something very, very bad happens. But just about every position, you can make an argument, there is playing time there to be had. Every position. Defensive tackle next to Quinnen. Edge rusher. The third linebacker spot. Again, I expect a lot of 4-3 from this defense. The safety room. Cornerback number 2. That's just on defense. Offense, who's wide receiver number 2? Tight end, throw it all up in the air. Who knows what's going to happen? You expect Mason Taylor to start, but is he the starter right out of the chute? Offensive line, that's pretty stable. We pretty much know what that's going to look like. But there'll be some heavy competition there because there's a lot of talent in that offensive line room, including with some of the backups. Some of them. Running back, again, 3 very good running backs. Maybe 4 if you want to include Donovan Edwards, although he had a rough drop yesterday. So to me, there is a ton of opportunity. And Aaron Glenn is all about creating opportunity. And I like that. Let's go to reason number 3, imposing the will. So here I've got a picture of all 3 Jets running backs. And when I talk about imposing the will, I'm talking about running the ball, establishing the pace of the game, setting the clock, owning what's going on, all right? Dictating the terms of the game, being aggressive in that way. Last year, the Jets attempted to run the ball only 363 times. That's about 21 times per game. That was last in the NFL by 17 attempts. And I think we know there are 2 reasons why that happened. Aaron and Rodgers, right? So the Jets barely attempted to run the ball. How many times did you all get frustrated as Jet fans on a 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, and Rodgers is audibling out? He wants to throw the ball on that spot. Red zone, same thing. And I think that was a big reason why the Jets were so bad at time of possession. The Jets averaged 29 minutes of possession per game. That may not sound bad on the surface, but it's only 27th in the NFL. The defense was on the field too much. And a large part of that is when, incomplete passes, things like that, the clock stops. It's a different philosophy now. The idea is the Jets are going to run more, hold the clock down now. Now, here's the thing with the running game. It's not just running, it's how you run. The Jets were running the ball outside the tackles a lot last year, and it does make sense because that's where Breece Hall does his best work. Not going to get into the numbers, but he's a much more productive running back when he's running outside the tackles as opposed to in between the tackles. Okay, that's important. But when you do that, you need skill position players who can block. Now, at tight end, you've added Mason Taylor, who's a capable blocker, but he's raw. Maybe you add Andrew Beck at fullback, former tight end who is now a fullback. Maybe if he proves that he is worth it, he could steal a roster spot. And if he opens up holes for that running game, you know what? I'm in favor of it. But even at wide receiver, you look at some of the other players. Josh Reynolds, he could block. Arian Smith, despite not being the biggest man in the world, he could block. Malachi Corley, very good run blocker. So then when they're running inside, you have Braylon Allen. We know what he could do. Isaiah Davis, maybe not a blazer, but he's got very quick feet. He's an incredibly agile runner. So both these guys can grind in between the tackles. Allen's 235 yards, doesn't even know his own strength yet, but he can truck stop a couple of runners if he needs to. Davis has the balance, the short area quickness to get through those tight spaces. And when you do that, the defense gets the rest that they need to be fresh for those last drives if they need to stop the opposing team's offense. So imposing the will by running the ball. And again, Mason Taylor is going to have a lot to say about this. I hope he's a capable blocker. I really, really do. Number 4, this one I'm a little bit hesitant on, but I'm going to say it anyway. Easier schedule. The Jets have the 7th easiest schedule in the NFL this year based off last year's results. I know year to year things can change, but here's the thing. There's 6 teams ahead of them in terms of ease of schedule, and only 2 of them are in the AFC. Okay, so of the 16 AFC teams, only 2 are projected to have an easier schedule than the Jets. Those teams being the Tennessee Titans, who nobody's expecting anything from anyway, and the New England Patriots. They get a very easy schedule, plus they have the cap space. I mean, oh my gosh. And I got to say, I do like the Jets are going to basically be in silence this year. 2 primetime games, 1 Europe game. Last year, what was it? Was half their schedule? It felt like half their schedule was primetime. So right there, that also helps with the schedule, not having a ton of short rest games and then long break games. You have a more consistent schedule, Sunday at 1, Sunday at 1, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I think that's good for a young coaching staff. And number 5, just flat out, they're due. Okay, they're due. 14 years. There's a lot of change at one Jets drive. The front office, the coaches, the staffers, just regular Joe Schmo. A lot of changes with the staff, and I think that's a good thing. New mojo is needed in Florham Park. Anybody who has come to accept losing, I don't care if it's the janitor. If you've come to accept losing, you're not wanted and you're not needed here. It'd be nice if they could change the owner, but yes, we know you can't have everything. And that's why I say Aaron Glenn needs to establish his presence before the black cloud of the Jets engulfs him. Ness, I'm always fair, okay? I've got the 5 reasons why they're going to make the playoffs, but I've also got 5 reasons they won't. Yes, I'm drinking. Water with a wedge of lemon and a wedge of lime. That's all I'm drinking right now. Although I did have a little sip of Celsius. I've gotten into those Celsius drinks a little bit more as of late. Those sparkling energy drinks. They're pretty dang good. I got to say, I'm starting to get into Celsius. And, I already drink Prime for hydration. But Celsius is pretty good. So I had the watermelon lemonade flavor. So who knows what's really in it. So here are 5 reasons why I think they're going to struggle to do it. Unproven playmakers. Hi, Jeremy Ruckert. How you doing? Look, let's look at the skill position players on this team and what we really have. Every team has some level of talent when it comes to playmakers. Breece Hall is very talented, but he's a question mark to me at this point. When you look at last year, you look at the fumbles, you look at the drops, the blocking ability is not great. And he can get a little bit too one-dimensional. He's a home run hitter. He's a very, very capable player. And if you want to tell me the coaching staff didn't use him as well as they could have, all right, I'll go with it. But still, there were too many self-induced errors by Breece Hall, and they have got to clean up. All right. We know he was dealing with a knee injury last year as well. He basically acknowledged it this year too. But I need to see the fumbles and drops stop. That has to stop, and it has to stop quickly, especially if you are the second or third most targeted player in this offense. Okay. Hey, Johnny M., how you doing? New coach and GM in 2, maybe 3 years max. Okay, so Johnny is basically having no faith in Aaron Glenn and Darren Muji. In that case, Johnny, my question would be, what coach would you have faith in? Is this, you're that anti-Glenn and Muji? I don't know why you would be anti-Glenn other than that he's a first-time coach. But what coach and GM would instill confidence in you? Because I'm wondering if it's just the Jets fan in you talking. And if it is, I understand it. But do I believe that? No, I don't. Glenn will have, at least in my mind, at least 4 years unless everything completely collapses and there's a total player revolt. But I just don't see that happening. Tony says a reliable kicker will help. If the Jets are in the games to win a game with a kick, that would be nice. And right now, we have no idea. I still say, in one of my bold predictions, the Jets kicker by, I'll be nice, week 2 is not currently on the roster. All right, Caden Davis missed a 40-and-up kick earlier today. Anders Carlson has been okay. But again, when you're only making 80% of your extra points, okay, I can't have confidence in you. I just can't. But, but how many teams realistically are going to carry multiple kickers on their 53-man roster? I don't see it happening. So really, if the Jets kicking struggles over the next 2 months, remember, it's not like they're tied into like these long-term contracts, nothing like that. You can always go out there and maybe sign Nick Folk, who is still out there. Just an idea. I'm going to keep saying it till they sign him. He's still an accurate kicker. Maybe he's demanding a high contract. But if the 2 kickers we have struggle, why not call Nick Folk? But getting back to the position players, Braylon Allen, I'm very excited about. He was one of the running backs. I had him ranked in my top 5, that particular draft class. The ceiling is very, very high with him. And I still think he's going to be very good now that the Jets offensive line is a little bit more suited to run block than they were last year. So I am excited. Isaiah Davis, he's been in mop-up duty. There's some raw ability there, but, who knows what he's going to do. Garrett Wilson, my God, he's just getting better. It seems like he is getting better as I just kill a bug, excuse me. Garrett just seems to be getting better by the year. And that's amazing to think about, as good as he was last year. He's been making catches in traffic. He's been having some pretty good battles with Brandon Stevens. I find that interesting. They've been putting Stevens on Garrett. Sometimes Stevens is staying with him. Sometimes Garrett's beating him. But any smart team is going to double Garrett Wilson and dare anybody else on this offense to beat them. Lazard, Reynolds, Corley, Tyler Johnson, Arian Smith, any one of the tight ends, Taylor, Ruckert, Smart, Kuntz. I swear to you guys, outside of Garrett Wilson, the second best playmaker on this team, it may be Justin Fields. It may just be, oh, here comes another one. Yeah, 2 little bugs. Yeah, got my light up there, and the bugs are attracted to the light. So, what are you going to do? So now, what some people have said when I've been reading a little bit about how Justin Fields likes to play quarterback back in Chicago and Pittsburgh, he tends to not throw to his second wide receiver all that much. I didn't put a whole lot of stock in that because, let's be honest, in Chicago and Pittsburgh, who was the second wide receiver that got you really excited? To me, he didn't really have a lot of that to work with. It was running backs, it was tight ends, and one good wide receiver for the most part. But drops have been an issue this week already. Donovan Edwards had a big drop. Mason Taylor, as I just said earlier, had a fumble today in practice. So that ball security, that's got to be Sean Jefferson. Let's get on it. All right, we got to talk about holding on to the ball. And by the way, Alan Lazard, Tony has a question. Tony, it's like you knew what I was going to get to. Any trade updates for Butterfinger and Lazard? Here's the deal with Alan Lazard. I'm gonna take this down for a minute. Just gonna talk to you all for a minute. And I'm leaning forward so we don't get too much of a sun glare there, but it's the best I could do. So the cap, first of all, the cap on Alan Lazard, it's 4.6 million this year. It's 4.3 million next year. So really it's 2 years plus a void year where they don't owe him anything. If they were to trade Alan Lazard now, okay, they take a $2.184 million dead cap hit. They save $2.426 million. All right. So 2.1 dead cap, 2.4 save, which is pretty good. If he stays through the year now, he should be a post June 1st cut or trade next year. So if you were to cut or trade him before June 1st of 2026, you don't save any money at all. Nothing. Okay. And remember, you could always designate 2 post June 1st cuts. If they were to cut him post June 1st next year, it's not that much of a difference. $2.184 million dead cap hit, same as this year. And you would save $2.184 million. So either way, whether they cut or trade him now or next year, they save $2.184 million in those respective years, whether it's this year and next year or just next year if they wait till next season. Hope that makes sense. But the bottom line is go post June 1st. Don't go pre-June 1st. That's the easiest way to say it. As far as talks, again, I'm not interested in training him right now. I'm happy to do it after week 1, but why hurt your ability to win the game by trading him to Pittsburgh? Even if it's only one game, right? Even if it's only one catch, you know it'll be like Mike Williams. Like he caught like one ball for Pittsburgh over his first 8 weeks, and it was a game-winning touchdown catch. You know, here's a better comparison. You remember when the Jets opened in Carolina? I think it was Zach against Sam, right? Sam was with Carolina at this point. Robbie Anderson had gone there. Frankie Louvu had gone there. Robbie caught one ball in the game. One. And it was a touchdown. You know, Lazard might just catch one ball, but you know it's going to be 6 points on the board from that catch. You know it's going to happen. We've been through enough to know better. Come on. You know the deal. All right. So number 2, second reason why I doubt they would make the playoffs is the run defense. Now, according to DVOA, which is a stat that I do like using, of course, you got to pay basically, it's like a car payment trying to get full access on it nowadays for the price, but that's okay. The Jets finished 20th in run defense DVOA last year, and that was their worst ranking since 2021. Now, here's the thing. It was really death by 1,000 paper cuts with the run defense. So the good thing was they ranked 6th best. They only allowed 4.1 yards per carry, but it was the same issues that plagued the Jets when they played San Francisco, when Jordan Mason basically looked like Jim Brown. And right there, you had to have a bad feeling about the season. The Jets allowed 22 rushing touchdowns and 192 runs for 5 yards or more. Both of those ranked 4th most in the NFL. Too often, the opposing team gained positive chunks of yards between the 20s, and then they plowed through them to finish off the drives and get in the end zone. It happened too much. They weren't allowing 15, 20-yard runs, but they weren't getting tackles for loss in the run game. So I look at the personnel now. Is Quinnen Williams still alone? Is it still Quinnen Island? You know, it's like Patrick Ewing without the second superstar in the 90s, or Henrik Lundqvist without the great forward for the New York Rangers. Who is the Robins? Who is Batman? Who is it? So the Jets have definitely have a lot of different players they're going to try. Derek Nottie from Kansas City, Byron Coward from a quarter of the NFL, Leonard Taylor, who, believe it or not, is already 25, 26 years old. He's an old second-year player. Jay Tufele, who I haven't had a whole lot of hopes for, but apparently he's looked good in practice. You throw in a couple of UDFAs. Look, none of these guys have been plus starters over the last few years. To say that any of them have been quality backups, that's debatable. And then even the run defense on the outside. JJ can do it, but is he 100% in 10 weeks from now? And if he plays, I still expect he's on a pitch count. One defensive end who could do it is Eric Watts. He's more of a run stopper than a pass rusher. Okay, so on a 3rd and 1, Eric Watts is somebody that you're going to want to plug in that spot. He'll do it better than Clemens, on about as well as JFM, but he's very good at pushing that line back. But he's still a role player. And Will McDonald, you know what? He's going to get the playing time. I know he put weight on, but let's see if the weight actually translates into functional strength. We've seen this with defensive linemen before. Look at Michael Clemens. After his first year, which was pretty good, it was pretty good. Jets had him put weight on so he could play inside, and he was never the same player. And then it was like, okay, do we add weight? Do we take weight off? It's amazing how many weight issues the Jets have between Becton, between Clemens. What's the goal weight here? Like, what are we trying to do here? They either didn't know what they were doing, or they maybe didn't have a plan to get the weight off or add the weight on. It felt like a never-ending saga. Wait and see. WEIGHT, wait and see, is what that turned into. But Will apparently looks great so far. But right now, he's like Bryce Huff, in my mind, a one-dimensional defensive lineman. And that's great, but teams can figure out they could run at will, no pun intended, run at will. And that's why they were getting those little chunks of yards here and there. So how is that going to work out? That's going to be very, very important. What can a Rashad Weaver, what can a Tyler Barron add? 1 second. Just got another one. All right. So then we go to the pass rush depth. Now with the pass rushing, can you believe it's only been about 2 years that we thought we had maybe the best pass rush in the NFL, maybe the deepest? Now it's question after question. If you look at sack totals over the last 3 years, 2022, it's been pretty consistent. 7th in the league with 45. 2023, 8th in the league, 48. Last year slipped a little bit, 11th with 43. And a lot of that has been from Will McDonald, especially last year. Hassan Reddick with his 2 half sacks. Yuck. But now you add in some young blood. You add in Barron. Watson and McGregor are in their second years. Rashad Weaver looks very good so far. What can they do there? So you need to get a pass rush past Will McDonald and past Jermaine Johnson. Who can do it? That's going to be important. But keep this in mind. The Jets were not a blitzing team under Robert Saleh and Jeff Ulbrich. Maybe now we start to see Quincy Williams blitz a little bit. I like the idea. I like the idea a lot. Harlan Becton was a good player, then his leg injury, and it took him longer to recover. It absolutely, both his leg injuries, right? And you know what? He won a Super Bowl. He got paid. Good for him. But that's why I can't call the pick a bust. If you get, to me, the issue, more of the issues on the coaching and the injuries. So I can't kill the front office for that. Not for that one, I can't. The JFM trade, yes, I can. Tony Alexio, glad for the Pittsburgh trade. JD had a home run with McDonald. It's working out pretty well. And I'll tell you this, we have not seen him at his best yet. He's capable of more. He looked pretty silly this year. I think it's getting to the point where other teams are starting to recognize Will McDonald is a problem and you have to game plan for him. If he had a little bit more size on him, I don't know. We'll see what he can do. Can he defend the run? If he could do that, if he could defend the run just a little bit, just be adequate. Man, Jets could have something pretty dang special. All right, now I want to spend a minute here on number 4, and it's the tackling. I think this is something that really needs to be looked at. And I'm going to actually call on some of the things Aaron Glenn has said this week. So earlier, when I was talking about the coaching staff, I talked about focusing on the fundamentals. The Jets are betting on their coaching staff to fix the tackling woes of several defenders. Okay, Steve Wilks actually said on Wednesday, the identity of the Jets defense is the physicality of their back end when it comes to tackling. Okay, so here's the thing with that. That is incredibly important. Whether it's Andre Sisco, A.Z. Thomas, Sauce Gardner, Francisco Mauioga, the Jets have some guys who are not necessarily great fundamental tacklers. Even Quincy Williams, he's gotten better at it, but we know early in his career he was an all-or-nothing kind of tackler. And when you miss that tackle so often, under Rex and even Todd Bowles, the Jets were a pretty good tackling defense. Under Robert Saleh, tackling became a problem. Too many times we'd see an initial missed tackle, and then the running back or wide receiver or tight end goes for another 10, 15 yards, gets the first down, and it's just absolutely demoralizing. Now, and as far as the missed tackle numbers go, the Jets actually had the 5th most missed tackles in the league last year. Okay? some of their most some of the players, let me say that right. Some of the players who have missed the most tackles on their defense include Will, Sauce, Tony Adams, which I got to tell you right now, I don't need to see Tony Adams anymore. I really don't. Fine if he's on the team, but I think we see what he is. I'm not exactly. My hope is the two starting safeties will be Andre Sisco and Malachi Moore. That is my hope. And then you can put Tony Adams in certain positions. But I don't want Tony Adams on the field 100% of the time. And Aaron Glenn addressed this on Tuesday, and that got me excited. He said, I'm going to quote, pursuit, tackling, and takeaways are the essence of playing defense. Pursuit, we know the Jets can do that. I love that mindset. It seemed like with that, we had one out of those three before. Pursuit, we always had that. Tackling, takeaways, not in the solid defense, not in the Ulbrich defense. We didn't see those things. And it was frustrating because when you have legitimate playmakers at every level of that defense, Quinnen, Will, Quincy, Jamie emerged, Sauce, MC2, although he was hurt last year. You could say DJ Reed if you want to, though last year I wouldn't exactly put him quite on that level. It was amazing the team struggled to take the ball away the way that they did. How they made so many fundamental mistakes, and missed tackles are a huge part of that. So the fact that both Steve Wilks and Aaron Glenn are talking about this, that's what I'm talking about when it comes to fundamentals. But number 5 is just this natural pessimism. Is this not the most fitting picture that I put up today? Same old Jets, right? We know the snowball could start very quickly. You lose. Let's say you lose to Pittsburgh at home week 1. Then you have Buffalo coming in. Buffalo is going to be a top pick to win it all this year. I know the Jets play them tough at times, but this may be the best version of Buffalo we've seen yet. And after that, you got the Florida stretch. The Bucs are under the radar good, okay? Even though Todd Bowles is their coach, the Bucs, they're always, they're never a pushover. Miami isn't great, but they're still explosive, and you're going to their house. You're dealing with the heat in South Florida in September. Will the Jets youth be able to handle that? So there's a lot of questions and a lot of things that have me very unsettled. I'm not here to do a record prediction yet. We'll do those as the summer goes on. It's still a little bit too soon in my mind. Let's see. Anything going on right now? They're playing Surfing USA at Citi Field. Rest in peace, Brian Wilson and Sly Stone yesterday. 2 giants in the music world. Buffalo's been picked at all to win all the last few seasons. They've been up there with Kansas City, Baltimore, teams like that. But you can make a good argument. Buffalo is the best team in the NFL now. You could. Them in Philly, you can make that argument. And nobody should be hungrier than Buffalo either. No one. Okay, guys. Well, I'll tell you what. It is, how are we doing? It is now 6:53. Oh, hey, Matthew Smith. How you doing? Bringing the positivity as always. Yeah, Citi Field's awesome. Number 1 ballpark food. Buffalo is in top 5. Okay. Who'd you put above them? All right. Certainly entitled to, Matthew, always entitled to your opinion. Just not sure why. If you want to say Philly, Baltimore, who else really? Kansas City? I don't know if Kansas City is the same team. Kansas City is the NBA team. They're the super power NBA team of the NFL. They'll play just well enough during the regular season, then they'll turn it on for the playoffs. They'll win the games they need to win, though. But they're not worried about finishing 14-3, 15-2. Philly, Kansas City, Washington, Baltimore, and the Lions. Okay. I think Washington is due for a step back. I could see Washington being the kind of team that believes its own BS. The Lions have the hardest schedule in the NFL. Something to keep in mind. Now, I like Detroit, but we'll see. And losing guys like Frank Ragnow, who just retired, that puts a hole in that offensive line. Though Hutchinson will be back, and they got to be healthier by default. So, yeah, Detroit, you can make a good argument. I can't buy that Washington is a better team than Buffalo. I just can't. Yeah, I could put, to me, the top four, I think that's Philly, Baltimore, Detroit, and Buffalo in whatever order you would like. I think that's a pretty fair way to go. All right, but glad you're here, man. Okay, I think it is that time of the week. You know what the time is. You know what we do every Wednesday night about this time. Well, it's been a long week where I've headed into the labyrinth of Jets knowledge. I bust open the books. I pull up the websites. I dust off the Encyclopedia Britannica. And I, Watch2K99, challenge you, the most loyal fans of the most loyal fan base in the National Football League. Just how much do you know about your New York Jets? So if you're ready, and I trust you're ready, let's play Jets Trivia. All right, guys. So here comes tonight's question. I got to say, I have been doing a whole lot of research to get ready for the season. I've got the entire regular season of trivia questions mapped out and ready to go. And I've even got a few. I think next week we'll start doing a few jersey number questions. Those are always pretty interesting. They can be very challenging or very easy. So we'll see how those go. So tonight I'm actually going to give you, there's one catch to the question, because this is not going to be the hardest question we've ever had. But there are going to be two correct answers to this question. And guys, when you put your answers in the question, my request is put in two answers together. Okay. So player A, player B, put them in there together. Otherwise, it's going to be a little bit too easy. All right. So tonight's question, since Aaron Rodgers has decided to sign on with the Pittsburgh Steelers, I thought we would do an Aaron Rodgers trivia question, and it goes like this. Aaron Rodgers threw 28 touchdowns in 2024 for the New York Jets. Named the only two quarterbacks to throw more in a single season for the Jets. So with your answer, I want to see both names. And based off of that, I'll let you know. I'm not going to give you one. I got to see both. So what two quarterbacks have thrown more touchdowns in a single season for the New York Football Jets? Okay, Jets Mess is first. He says Joe Namath and Ryan Fitzpatrick. Is that correct? You got one right. YouTube is starting to flag Matt's messages. Oh boy. All right, Matthew goes Fitzpatrick and Kenny O'Brien. How about that? Is it Fitzpatrick and Ken O'Brien? No. Tony Alexio goes Fitzpatrick and Chad Pennington. No. You all got one right. You've all got one right, but not the second one. It's amazing. Joe Namath threw over 4,000 yards in a 14-game season, but I think that year he only had, 26, 27 touchdowns. Actually, I think he had 23 touchdowns and 27 interceptions. That is a crazy, crazy year. Matthew goes Fitz and Brett Favre. How about Brett Favre? No. Jets Mess tries Fitz and Vinny Testaverde. How about that? There we go. Yep, it was Ryan Fitzpatrick and Vinny Testaverde. Fitz in 2015, of course, threw 31 touchdowns. Vinny Testaverde threw 29 in 1998. So those are the correct answers. Good job, chat. I had a feeling you were going to get this one. And good job by Jets Mess getting it correct. All right. Okay, guys. Well, I'll tell you what. I have some ideas for the next couple of shows that we'll let you know about as the time goes on. I do want to mention I've been doing some different videos as of late, doing a Sporkle quiz video. Oh, Mrs. Mess, guess Vinny. Okay. But we've been doing some Sporkle quizzes. If you haven't been on Sporkle, it's a really cool quiz website. They got quizzes about every trivia topic under the sun, from sports to music to geography to science to religion to numbers to word puzzles to ancient Egypt, everything you could want. So I've been doing a couple of those. I put 2 tests quizzes up already about the Jets, where I take a quiz live. I take it in real time, and then I put the link to the quiz in the chat, and you can play along with me and see how you do. So I'm going to upload another one tonight. Keep watch for that. And it's about Jets players going to college. What colleges did random Jets players go to? So I took that one right before the show. Not going to tell you how I did, but I thought I wasn't too upset with my performance. I'll put it that way. I thought I did okay on it. So be on the lookout for that. Hey, BMAC, what do we have here? We got Wednesday Night Live with Watsu K99 and a whole bunch of friends. Yeah, Jets Mess, Tony Alexio, Matthew Smith, Harlan Abraham, a couple of anonymous ones. I think we might have Arkansas joining. I think we have some new folks in North Carolina who I've been telling the show about as well. One of whom is a Mets fan. Don't think a big football fan, but we'll work on conversion. I almost prefer that somebody not be a sports fan, because then they can be converted. They're moldable like clay. You know what I'm talking about? Oh my gosh. I remember years ago, somebody said to me, Adam, you need to just date a girl who likes all your teams. I'm like, I would rather they not be a fan at all. They could show me other things and I can mold them into my teams. So, and they said this when I was living in Chicago, so that wasn't working out very well. So, okay, guys. Well, I'll stay with you for a few more minutes. I know the Mets are starting pretty soon, and I'm gonna probably make some dinner in a little bit. Yeah, I actually hung out with Jets Chaos last week. He was in town, so it's good to see him. We went out, got some wings, had a good time there. Had a nice discount on 20-ounce beers for 16-ounce prices. Couldn't complain about that. Oh, there goes the trivia timer. Yeah, you guys got it really fast. So, but it was good to see Jets Chaos. Yeah, the NBA Finals are tonight. Yep, that's going on. And of course, I will be in Green Bay in August for the first preseason game. So if you're going, or if you know anybody who's going, let me know. I'll be working my way up from Chicago to Milwaukee to Green Bay, and I'll be in Green Bay for about 24 hours, from like early afternoon or mid-afternoon to probably mid-afternoon Saturday to Sunday. But very, very excited to go to Lambeau Field for the first and probably the only time that I will ever be able to go. So should be great. All right, guys, we're going to call it a night. I want to thank everybody. Yeah. Hey, we've had Jeremy on before. Yeah, we've had Jeremy on before. I think we'll bring him back on during the summer at some point. Yeah, because when you get into the dark days, it's good to get somebody else's opinion. So, Tony, yeah, we'll definitely have Jeremy on over the next couple of weeks. So, all right, everybody. Well, I hope you had fun. And hope you have a great rest of your week. We will talk soon. Be sure to share the channel with anybody who might enjoy it or not enjoy it. It's all good either way. And I will see you right back here with more content from you all know where it's from. The Wicker Chair. Have a good night, everybody. Be well.